Kershaw's 1-0 to Rendon. Swung on, hit of the air to deep left center field. It is gone. Goodbye.
And the Nationals have gone back-to-back against Kershaw.
Fly ball center field deep. Bellinger going back. It's a grand slam. And the Nationals, for the first time in their history, will play in the National League Championship Series.
Nothing like a champagne shower. Good morning and welcome to First Take. I'm Roz Goldon-Woode, filling in for Molly Karam. I've got Max Kellerman here with me. And from Atlanta, Stephen A. Smith, I'm sending you a fist bump and a high five from afar.
Good morning, Stephen A.
Roz? Always good to see you. What up, Max? How you doing, man?
Always ready to do it.
All right, let's get right to it. Okay, we begin with the Nationals' epic rally against the Dodgers. Dodgers ace Clayton Kershaw entered the game in relief with a 3-1 lead in the 8th inning and promptly gave up homers on consecutive pitches to Anthony Rendon and Juan Soto. Nats win and advance to the NLCS. And here was Dodgers manager Dave Roberts and Clayton Kershaw after the game.
Do you feel responsibility for this loss?
Sure. I mean, if the blame falls on me, I've got no problem with it. You know, I feel that, you know, my job is to put guys in the best position to have success. And if it doesn't work out, there's always going to be second guessing. And I got no problem, you know, wearing the brunt of that. That's okay.
Is this about as worse as you've ever felt?
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to hang my head. I'm going to be here. I'm going to continue to try to fight, continue to try to compete. I'm not going to shy away from it, continue to do it. Everything people say is true right now about the postseason. I understand that. Nothing I can do about it right now. It's a terrible feeling. It really is.
So, Max, I'll start with you. Who gets the blame for the Dodgers' failure?
That man right there, Clayton Kershaw, and not just for this season. Like, I take no pleasure in saying this. Roz, you and others have gotten on me when I say it about James Harden. I don't want that to be true about James Harden. I want James Harden to ball in the playoffs. I said it about Peyton Manning. I didn't want it to be true about Peyton Manning. He was maybe the best who ever did it in the regular season, not the same guy in the playoffs, because there are other guys who go the other way. They're really good, get even better in the playoffs. Michael Jordan, Mariano Rivera. And that's what we're talking about with Kershaw, Stephen A., like a worse version of Peyton Manning or James Harden, in the sense that you can, the lowest rung of clutch or choking hell, the lowest rung is you might be the best who ever did it in the regular season. And in the playoffs, you're terrible. Clayton Kershaw, I don't know if people understand how great he's been. Clayton Kershaw has a legitimate argument when you talk about who in their prime was the greatest pitcher of all time. Because he had, if you take that to mean over 3 or 4 or 5 years, Clayton Kershaw in 4 consecutive years, between 2011 and 15, I think it was 11 to 15, led the league in ERA and walks and hits to innings pitched. In other words, like, however you want to measure how effective a pitcher is, he was the guy. And he was throwing a lot of innings and striking everyone out and winning a lot and hardly ever losing. On excellent teams, by the way. In terms of left-handed pitchers, starting pitchers, the only comparable primes in terms of that level of dominance over that span of time, Sandy Koufax, Lefty Grove. I'm going back 100 years now almost. You could argue Randy Johnson. I don't know if Randy ever put 4 consecutive years together like that, but that's what Steve Carlton never did. We're talking about that level pitcher. Even Johan Santana at his best, not quite. That level pitcher. And Stephen A., all they ever needed him to be, they didn't need him to be a better version of himself in the playoffs. Like Mariano Rivera, the Yankees' great closer, was the best closer ever, lowest ERA of all time, adjusted ERA. And then in the playoffs got way better. ERA was 1/3 of what it normally was. We didn't need that from Clayton Kershaw. He didn't need to be Michael Jordan. What, you're the best ever, you get better under pressure? Just be more or less the same version of yourself. At some point in this Dodgers era, where they're now playing money ball with money, right? Like they have everyone has great analytics, but the Dodgers certainly turned that over. This is over 2 managers now, Stephen A., GMs with different philosophies. Clayton Kershaw's bridged that gap. And in 7 consecutive postseasons, he's never been the guy. Here and there, a game here and there, but never been the guy they can hand the ball and say, take us there. When he was in his prime, now that he's not in his prime, never been that dude. And that is the reason the Dodgers haven't won the World Series in this time. The fact that he knows it says great things about him, that he's owning it, and it's terrible. I feel terrible saying it, but that is the truth.
I get where you're coming from, Max. I can understand your position in that. I mean, obviously, when you're the $215 million man and you can't show up, you're undisputably one of the greatest pitchers during the regular season we've ever seen in Major League Baseball history. But somehow, some way, you come up short in the postseason. That definitely is a problem. Here's my thing, though. I can't escape, and just as badly as you feel about talking about Kershaw is as badly as I feel about talking about Dave Roberts. Because I think Dave Roberts has obviously done an incredible job. He's been to back-to-back World Series leading up to this point, but he's had a multitude of shots at the apple and hasn't delivered the goods one time in terms of a World Series championship. It's been since 1988 that the Dodgers can't capture a championship. Now let's dissect what transpired here. You sit up there and you bring Kershaw in the 7th. You need one out. He delivers that for you. First of all, why did you bring him out in the 8th inning? You got Kenta Maeda. This guy's been solid all season long. He could have done some things with you in relief. Not only that, you had about 4 different righties that you could have used to go against Rendon. You got Kelly, you've got Maeda. I mean, you look at Jansen as well, even though he's been shaky. The list goes on and on. And so if you had those multitude of guys, you could have went a direction away from Kershaw. Now, he could make the argument, obviously, that in a relief role, Kershaw showed up 5 2/3 innings, 7 strikeouts, no runs, just a couple of hits in the relief appearances that he's had in prior postseasons as an excuse to let Kershaw come out there in the 8th inning. But then when you look at the situation, you got Kolarek, right? I think that's how you pronounce his name. This guy went against Soto, and the only batter he's faced in the NLDS was Soto on 3 occasions, and all 3 times he got him out. Why was Kershaw in there pitching to this man when this guy has clearly showed you he's had Soto's number? You could have utilized somebody different than Kershaw at that particular moment in time. And then again, it brings me back to the usage of Kershaw. If you recall, Max, on several occasions in the past when we've talked, I told you that Southern California sunshine, the heat, the fact that you have him pitching as much as you do. I'm not talking about now. In the past, I've seen situations, me and my boy Jeff Brown always talked about this. We'd see situations where Kershaw is absolutely positively dominant through 7 innings in the regular season. They'll still send him out there for the 8th, sometimes in the 9th inning in the past. And you're wondering, excuse me, are you not thinking about the big picture? Because with this roster, you're anticipating that the Dodgers are going to be playing in October, and you're going to need this dude. But you ride that gravy train. And Dave Roberts, once again, I'm not talking about in terms of the actual workload, but that mentality. I'm going to ride Kershaw instead of going with other guys that are supposed to be there solely for these moments, to get a batter out here, get 2 batters out here. We ain't even talking about guys pitching innings, man. But this is what the deal is, and I think that's a problem. He didn't do that.
You can always second guess a manager, but even in your second guessing of Dave Roberts, ultimately you're pointing to Kershaw. You cannot put him out there when you need to get outs in pressure situations in the playoffs. And I'm not trying to hear fans, well, he did it this time, he did it that time. His ERA is almost double in the playoffs what it is in the regular season. Stephen A., he has 158 innings of postseason baseball. Nowadays, that's like a full season of a starting pitcher almost. And that's a huge sample size. He doesn't get it done when you need him most, when you don't need him as much. In starting, relief, short rest, regular rest, he just doesn't get it done.
Max, here's what you're missing. Max. You're missing the point that you've been very consistent about that for how long? Years, right?
Yeah.
Years. So what I'm saying is you've been consistent about it. Baseball aficionados everywhere, guys that are covering the sport every day, have been consistent about it. Well, damn it, that means everybody knows. So what the hell you go with it for? This is the point that I'm trying to make. I'm not saying that you're wrong with what you're saying about Kershaw. I'm saying if the blueprint has been established, that unfortunately, under
Kershaw
the most
can't hurt you if he's
pressurized
not out
situations
there.
in postseason play, if this guy has consistently come up short, then you've got to make sure schematically you plan for not needing him in a particular moment like this, so you can go in a different direction.
High leverage moments, I get it, but if he's your $215 million, as you said, ace, if he's a guy who's doing things that few people have ever done when the pressure's not on, he's going to get some innings in the playoffs.
Right.
And he never comes through.
All right, guys, we've got to take a break on this. We got to take a break on this conversation. We've got baseball talk, we've got football talk, we've got basketball talk today. We've got a lot more debate coming your way. All right.